Hello everyone, have a nice day. Today we'll explore the reversed story. When Uri and Tu Tieu become the villains. When a wave of rumors turns two lovers into the bad guys, and they answer not with noise, but with calm resolve. We'll follow the stairs at the market, a tense porch confrontation with Lynn, and a dawn where boundaries and love hold firm. If you find it interesting, don't forget to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next videos. The clip spreads faster than the morning light. False evidence, false love. Those 4 words crawl across every screen in the district. By the time the sun reaches the orchard, Uri's name and Tu Tieu's face have already turned into a kind of rumor, one that breathes, multiplies, and eats truth for breakfast. Inside the kitchen, the old radio hums static between gossip and music. Tu Tieu stands by the window, hair tied up, fingers shaking as she folds a towel that doesn't need folding. Outside, the lemon trees gleam, pretending innocence. Uri sits at the table, the same place where everything started. The cabinet, the recorder, the proof. The USB lies there again, small, black, cruel. "Turn it off," she says, voice rough. He doesn't. He can't. The laptop screen keeps replaying that cursed sentence. "You recorded her. We recorded you." Tu Tieu's reflection trembles in the glass. "They turned it on us." Uri nods slowly. "Now we're the story." For a moment, neither moves. The air smells of wet wood and lemon peel too clean, too calm for how dirty it all feels. Then, a knock on the door. 3 times, steady. Uri tenses. Tu Tieu opens it before he can stop her. Egan stands there, rain jacket half unzipped, face unreadable. "You two have a problem," he says. "We noticed," Uri replies. Egan steps in, closing the door behind him. It's not just Lynn. Someone higher's involved now. The new clip, whoever edited it, had access to the district files. Tu Tieu's grip tightens on the chair. They're rewriting it, making us look like we planted the recorder out of spite. "That's exactly what they want people to think," Egan says. 2 lovers, staging evidence for revenge. It sells better. Uri's jaw tightens. Who leaked it? Could be Lynn. Could be her mother's friend at the old factory. Doesn't matter. The point is, it's working. Silence again. Then Egan glances between them. "You have 2 choices. Hide until it dies down, or own it. Play the villains they made you." Tu Tieu looks up. "And if we don't?" Egan exhales. "Then they'll write the ending for you." When he leaves, the house feels smaller. The walls seem to lean in, listening. Uri moves first. He opens a drawer, pulls out the old recorder, and sets it on the table. "We started this with sound," he says. "Maybe we end it the same way." Tu Tieu blinks. By whom? By speaking before they twist another sentence. Her eyes narrow. "You want to feed them more?" "I want control back." She crosses her arms. "Or maybe you just want to be right." That lands heavier than either expects. Outside, thunder growls from the horizon. Uri turns away. "We can't run from this." Tu Tieu's voice drops, brittle. "We didn't start it either." He looks back at her, then really looks, and sees it. The exhaustion beneath her defiance, the fear hiding in her steady breath, the kind of fear that turns even truth into something fragile. "I'll fix it," he says quietly, but she shakes her head. "No, we'll fix it, together." That night, the market feels like a stage. Whispers move faster than wind. Screens flash the edited clip in tiny loops. People pause mid-sentence, mid-bargain, to look half curious, half cruel. Tu Tieu walks through it, chin high, basket in hand. Her steps don't falter, but her eyes flicker at every whisper. That's her. That's him. They trapped her, poor Lynn. The story has flipped. They've become the shadows they once feared. At her stall, she arranges the lemons with mechanical grace. Her mother's voice echoes from some distant past. Keep your head down, child. Truth doesn't feed you. Across the market, Uri's motorbike weaves through the crowd. He parks, dismounts, and pushes through to her side. The look on her face tells him everything before she speaks. They think we're monsters, she murmurs. He glances at the phones filming from afar. Then let's give them a reason to look closer. What do you mean? He lowers his voice. We flip the story back. If they make us villains, we act like it loudly. We use their fear. Her frown deepens. You want to scare them? No. I want them to doubt what they've built. He hands her a folded note. Inside, a list of names of people who shared the clip first, the accounts that started the whispers. Egg and trace these, Uri says. We leak our own version, show what they cut out. Tu Tieu hesitates. And if it backfires? He meets her eyes. Then we're already guilty, aren't we? By afternoon, clouds gather again. The air tastes like metal. Tu Tieu leaves the stall early and rides home. Uri stays behind, waiting for a call that doesn't come. At the orchard, she finds the door ajar. A cup overturned. The faint sound of wind pushing curtains. She steps inside, heartbeat sharp. The recorder's gone. Her breath catches. No. Then from the corner of the porch, a familiar voice. Looking for this? Lynn. She stands under the eave, holding the small recorder like a trophy. Rain dusts her shoulders, her smile brittle as glass. Tu Tieu freezes. What do you want? To end what you started. Lynn's tone is calm. Too calm. You ruined my name, so I'll ruin your story. Tu Tieu's voice trembles. We didn't lie. Doesn't matter, Lynn says. People believe what they want to hate. She tosses the recorder onto the table. It lands with a hollow sound. You built your truth from the shadows. Now live in them. Before Tu Tieu can speak, Lynn turns and walks away, vanishing into the rain like she's part of it. Uri arrives minutes later, drenched and breathless. What happened? Tu Tieu points at the recorder. She was here. He stares at it, then at her. Did she take anything else? I don't know. He grabs the device, plugs it in, and hits play. Static. Then a voice. Not Lynn's. Hers. Tu Tieu. If this doesn't work, he'll never forgive me. She blinks, pale. That's not me. But it is her voice. Clear. Frightened. Stripped from another time. Uri pauses the recording. When did you? I didn't, she interrupts, breath shaking. I swear. He stares at her. Then the recorder. Then the rain outside. Someone has been cutting the truth apart, piece by piece, making ghosts of their own words. He whispers. More to himself than her. We've lost control of the story. Tu Tieu meets his eyes. Voice breaking. Then maybe we'll get a new one. Lightning flashes. The orchard glows white. The line between truth and lie dissolves with the thunder. Uri exhales, the weight of guilt pressing in. If they want villains, she finishes for him, steady now. We'll give them something to fear. Outside, the rain starts again sharp, relentless, almost approving. And for the first time, the orchard feels like it belongs to no one. Night leans its weight on the orchard. Lantern light shivers against the porch posts. Rain left hours ago, but the leaves still drip as if the sky can't quite stop crying. Uri sets a clay mug on the table and sprinkles a thin veil of ash around the mouth of the old cabinet drawer. Ash from the morning stove, soft as regret. On his palm, a smear of red from crushed betel nut stains like a thumbprint-shaped warning. Tu Tieu watches him, shawl around her shoulders, hair damp at the temples. "If we do this," she says, "we don't get to be innocent anymore." "We never were," he answers, tying a bit of jute around the drawer and knotting it to a small straw ball. "We were careful. Tonight we're clear." From the gate, the dog grumbles once and goes silent, the way dogs do when a shape they know takes the path they fear. Egan slips in from the side yard, wet cuffs, steady eyes. "Neighbors are awake," he murmurs. "I told the tea stall owner to stroll by. The baker, too. No promises from the blacksmith, but he hates an empty night." "No names," Tu Tieu says. "No pointing. Let the orchard do the talking." They move like people agreeing to take the last step across a rope bridge. Uri smears the tips of his own fingers with ash and the red stain, then wipes them clean on a rag. He lifts the drawer, shows Tu Tieu the pail inside where a thin line of chalk now traces the back edge, a mark that will break if pulled too far. He closes it gently, breath measured. The straw ball hangs from the jute, light as a seed. Egan exhales. "If she comes, she won't be able to help herself," Tu Tieu says. There is no bravado in it, only a tired kind of knowing. They leave the door ajar and the lantern low. The house smells of lemon peel and wet wood and a small, fierce courage. Then they wait. Footsteps in the dirt. A pause by the fence. The soft rasp of a palm on wood. Lynn steps into the halo of the lantern like a moth that learned to love flame. Rain left her hair in waves. Her eyes glitter the way eyes do when pride won't let them blink first. "No greetings?" she asks lightly. "We ran out," Uri says. He rests his hand on the table, open, empty. Lynn's gaze flicks to the cabinet, then back. "I came for a truth you owe me." "Truth doesn't keep score," Tu Tieu says, "but it keeps receipts." "Tell that to the market," Lynn snaps, then catches herself, smiling, sliding back on. "Look at you both, playing saints with dirty hands. The village already likes that ending." "We're not saints," Uri says. "You taught them that." "And tonight," Tu Tieu adds, "we teach them something else." They step aside. No blocking, no threat. Just air and a drawer and a woman who has spent days walking circles around a wound. Lynn's mouth twitches. "If I open that, I become what you say I am." "No," Tu Tieu answers. "You become what you are, with witnesses." As if summoned, a cough from the path, the tea stall owner lingers by the gate with an empty basket. He has no reason to be caring at this hour. The baker drifts past with a sack that can wait until morning. A neighbor boy, sleepless and nosy, climbs the fence post and pretends to study stars. "Go home," Lynn tells them without moving her eyes. They do not. The village loves a story, even when it hates its characters. She faces the cabinet. Her fingers are careful, elegant, trained to take without sounding like theft, and find the jute. She pauses. "Last chance," she says to no one in particular. "If you want it," Uri says, "take it." Lynn lifts the straw ball gently. The jute tugs the drawer a breath. The chalk scratches a hiss. The ash breathes into the air like a ghost called by its own name. Lynn's hand jerks the oldest instinct, and the drawer slides a finger width too far. The chalk line breaks. Ash kisses her skin. The red from the jute smudges her thumb like a single loud truth. Silence, except for leaves dripping. The tea stall owner looks down at his basket as if it has begun to sing. The baker clears his throat. The boy on the fence whispers a word he isn't supposed to know. Lynn sees her hand and chooses fury over shame. "Child's games," she spits, rubbing the color onto her skirt until it smears into a bruise she can't hide. "You think powder and cords make me a thief?" "No," Tu Tieu says. "Your wanting does." "Wanting what? My life back?" Lynn's voice shakes for the first time. "You turned me into a lesson." "You did that," Uri says. He could have said more about drawers and whispers, about nights spent listening to the house breathe wrong, but he doesn't. He only watches the way her shoulders rise and fall, too quickly now, too shallow. Behind them, a lantern ignites at the neighbors, another across the path. Small, ordinary suns deciding to be present. The street grows a face, not a courtroom, a front row. "Go home," Lynn says again, "to the village this time." No one moves. "Then you stay," Tu Tieu murmurs. She steps closer, not to corner Lynn, but to stand within the same air. "Hear me." Lynn's chin lifts. "Say it." "I set boundaries," Tu Tieu says. "Not traps. I asked the world to stop putting its hands in my drawers and pockets and prayers. When the world wouldn't, I learned where to stand." "Villain talk," Lynn says, but it comes out softer than she intends. "Maybe," Uri answers. "Maybe the kind of villain who knows the difference between hurting and stopping harm." A new sound carries down the road the slow tread of older feet and a cane that taps truth out of stone. The village elder, thin as bamboo, eyes like rivers in dry season, arrives without hurry, as if stories are best eaten warm, not hot. He nods to no one and everyone, then to the cabinet. "What is it?" "A place that used to be safe," Tu Tieu says. The elder looks at Lynn's stained hand, at the broken chalk, at the thin line of ash on the drawer's lip, at the neighbors who have made themselves a kind of wall. He does not look at Uri or Tu Tieu more than once. He doesn't need to. "There will be talk," he says finally. "There is always talk." Lynn laughs, sharp, unhappy. "You think talking will help them? It's already poisoned." The elder's cane taps the step. Poison doesn't need a river, it needs a cup. He lifts his chin toward Lynn's hand. "You were thirsty." Lynn's mouth opens, closes. She looks at the orchard, the way people look at a door that will not open for them anymore. For a heartbeat, the pride leaves her face, and a tired girl blinks through. Then the pride returns, wounded and louder. "Keep your stage," she says, and turns away. The tea stall owner shifts, but no one reaches to stop her. Some stories end because there's nothing left to say. The elder watches her go. The neighbors let their lanterns dim. The boy drops from the fence like a fruit that understands when to fall. The street becomes a street again. "You two," the elder says to Uri and Tu Tieu. "Sleep." It is not advice. It is a permission older than law. When the doors close, the house feels its own body again. Uri wipes the ash from the drawer and blows the remaining chalk into the night, a tiny weather of his own making. Tu Tieu, scrubs the red from the jute, works until the fibers surrender the stain. "I hate that I did that," she says. "You set a mirror on a table," he answers. She chose to look. "I still hate it." He reaches for her wrist, the inside, where skin tells the truth of a pulse. "Then we will learn how not to again." They don't light new lanterns. They sit with the faint glow that lingers after lamps go out and count their breaths with the orchard. Dawn edges in as if asking permission. The road is damp and ordinary. The tea stall owner raises 2 fingers when they pass. The baker pretends he never left his bed. The boy keeps a heroic silence for once. At the stall, Tu Tieu sets the lemons with her small cathedral precision. She does not look up when the first woman of the day steps forward and puts down coins. "Same as yesterday," the woman says. "Only..." She hesitates. "Only, if anyone says monster, tell them I said the orchard has enough of those in the soil. It doesn't need new ones." Tu Tieu nods, throat tight. "I'll tell them you prefer your monsters underground." "Good girl," the woman says, and leaves with her bag heavier and her heart lighter than it arrived. Uri appears with 2 cups of hot tea. "Again?" he asks. "Counting lanterns," Tu Tieu says, a smile that almost remembers its full shape. "He'll be by." They finish early. The road home has the kind of light that loves color. They do not speak until the orchard rises on both sides, like rows of quiet witnesses who chose to stay. On the porch, the cabinet waits like furniture again. The drawer stays shut. The jute is clean. The table holds nothing but 2 cups and a small plate of salt for dipping lemon, the way children are taught to dare their tongues. "Are we villains?" Tu Tieu asks, not as challenge, not as confession, just the last member of a question that kept them awake. Uri thinks long enough to make the answer honest. "We were the boundary," he says. "Sometimes the world calls that a villain." She leans into his shoulder. "Will it stop?" "The talking?" "No." He lifts her hand to his mouth and kisses the place courage lives. "The hurting?" "We made it harder." Wind ruffles the leaves and carries back the scent of something simple. Wet soil, clean rind, the soft iron of morning. Across the path, a neighbor sweeps, letting the broom find a rhythm the day can keep. The elder passes, cane tapping a benediction he doesn't name. He doesn't look up. He doesn't need to. They drink their tea. The orchard listens without taking sides. And when the sun finally lifts past the last damp hanger of mist, the house looks exactly the same to anyone walking by wood, roof, steps, a quiet door. But to the 2 people on the porch, it has shifted a grain, a hair, a breath. It is not a stage or a trap or a temple. It is a place that learned the cost of peace and paid for it with its own hands. Later, before the heat takes the day, Uri loosens the jute, wipes the last film of ash, and rubs the drawer rails with lemon oil the way his father taught him small circles, patient pressure, care that looks like nothing from far away. Tu Tieu watches him. "What are you doing?" "Making sure it opens only when we want it to," he says. She smiles, finally whole and simple. "Good." He sets the oil aside. She places a single lemon on the table between them, bright as a kept promise. They eat it with salt, eyes watering, laughing at the sting that proves their mouths are still their own. Above them, a bird tries a new note and decides to keep it. And beneath the orchard, the earth holds the footprints of a night the village will never fully agree on. Only remember.
Một tin đồn lan truyền đã đảo ngược kịch bản. Uri và Tử Tiêu bị đóng vai kẻ phản diện. Tên của họ được trao đổi như chuyện phiếu ngoài chợ. Thay vì trốn tránh, họ chọn sự hiện diện, đôi tay vững vàng, giọng nói đều đều và quyết định đứng ở nơi họ sống. Linh đến trong sự im lặng của màn đêm, quyết tâm biến ngôi nhà của họ thành sân khấu. Những gì tiếp theo không phải là cảnh tượng mà là một ranh giới cứng rắn, được giữ vững, không la hét, không rượt đuổi, chỉ có lòng dũng cảm thầm lặng của những người từ chối bị viết lại. Lòng kiêu hãnh thử thách, nỗi sợ hãi, lời buộc tội gặp sự kiên định và câu chuyện hướng tới trách nhiệm mà không có chiến thắng hay sự sỉ nhục. Đến sáng, những ân huệ nhỏ xuất hiện, ít ánh nhìn chằm chằm hơn, một cái gật đầu không lời, trà được chia sẻ trên hiên nhà. Uri và Tử Tiêu không tuyên bố vô tội, họ tuyên bố trách nhiệm, vạch ra sự khác biệt rõ ràng giữa sự gây hại và sự bảo vệ. Vườn cây ăn quả cảm thấy thay đổi, cùng những hàng cây, cùng ánh sáng, cùng một nền hòa bình được giành lại và cùng nhau bảo vệ.